I commend President Ramaphosa for South Africa's outstanding leadership during the G20 presidency from December 2024 to November 2025. Mr. President, you used that platform to do exactly what was required: to center Africa's development priorities, to press for reforms of the international financial architecture, international financial governance, and to ensure that the Global South was given the weight it deserves. Today, Kenya and South Africa stand together in advocating a reimagined global order, one built not without Africa, but with Africa fully represented, fully engaged, and at the center of it. We are not asking to be admitted to someone else's architecture. We are asserting our rightful place among the architects of the new global order. Our two nations have never been strangers to each other's struggles. Long before our high commissions opened in 1994, the year of South Africa's democratic rebirth, we were bound by the shared experience of colonialism, by the solidarity of our liberation movements, and by the common dream of an Africa that governs itself, feeds itself, and speaks for itself. Over 3 decades, we have built one of the most impactful partnerships on the continent, grounded in mutual respect, shared values, and a common vision for the prosperity of our people. That partnership was institutionalized through the Joint Commission for Cooperation in 2007, and today we have directed that the second session of the JCC convenes as scheduled following this visit. We further welcome the ongoing work to elevate the Commission into a strategic partnership framework, a stronger, more comprehensive for the years to come. As a statement to our growing ties, we have today witnessed the signing of 6 instruments on trade facilitation through cooperation in standards, regulation, and metrology, on shipping and maritime cooperation, and on partnerships in gender equality and women's empowerment, technical and vocational education, arts and heritage, and sports and recreation. On trade and investment, we noted with satisfaction the upward trajectory of our bilateral trade, which grew from US $590 million in 2024 to $650 million in 2025, an increase of $60 million or more than 10% in a single year. This momentum must not only be sustained, but we must also accelerate. We acknowledge that real obstacles still remain, including tariff and non-tariff barriers, limited market access, and regulatory constraints. We therefore directed our trade ministers to dismantle these barriers by fully implementing the directives of the 7th Joint Technical Committee and Trade Committee. We further agreed to harness the Tripartite Alliance and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to expand access, reduce costs, and unlock the full promise of intra-African trade. Ladies and gentlemen, we took stock too of robust investment flows over the past 5 years, with enterprises from both countries now present across banking, telecommunication, fintech, logistics, education, aviation, and retail. This reflects the natural complementarity of our economies and the confidence of our private sectors. We welcomed the proposed Kenya-South Africa Business Council and commended the business forum convened alongside this visit, which turns commitment into commerce. We affirmed health, aviation, and education as strategic pillars of our shared development and are sectors that improve the well-being of our citizens, connects our people, and builds the human capital that will shape our continent's future. We commended the visa-free regime in place since 2023, which has measurably boosted tourism, trade, and cultural exchange between our two countries, and committed to resolving the outstanding challenges that remain. We were briefed in the earlier meeting that in 2025 alone, 58,000 arrivals were recorded from Kenya, signaling very robust engagement between our two countries. Today, during our bilateral discussions, the Ministry of Tourism of South Africa informed us that Kenyans visiting South Africa have increased by 18.7% since the introduction of the 90-day visa-free entry policy. This stands as a compelling evidence that when managed effectively, the movement of people across borders can create shared prosperity, strengthen ties between nations, and deliver tangible benefits for all. On peace and security, we reaffirmed that stability is the foundation of all development. We pledged sustained cooperation with the African Union, the United Nations, and other multilateral organizations united in the conviction that lasting peace is both a shared responsibility and a shared reward. As two of Africa's most influential voices, South Africa and Kenya are determined that our continent should shape global outcomes and not merely respond to them. Let me close with the standard against which I believe we must measure everything done in our meetings. That outcomes and impact will shape every commitment that we have signed and every MoU that has been signed here today. That is the standard, and I believe Kenya and South Africa, working together in honesty and determination, are fully capable of meeting. It is a profound honor to stand here today in South Africa, a land that has given the world enduring lessons in courage, sacrifice, and the indomitable power of human spirit. South Africa is living proof of what becomes possible when people refuse to be defined by injustice and instead choose to be defined by their greatest aspirations. The world watched in awe as this nation dismantled apartheid and built something more lasting in its place. A constitutional democracy grounded in dignity, human rights, and in the equal worth of every person. I thank you, Mr. President, and the people of South Africa for the warm welcome and generous hospitality extended to me and my delegation. It speaks to the character of a nation that has always understood the spirit and meaning of Ubuntu.
Our countries enjoy long-standing ties of friendship, solidarity, and cooperation over many years. These ties are rooted in our shared history, our common aspirations for African development, and our mutual commitment to peace, democracy, regional integration, and multilateralism. Kenya remains one of South Africa's most important strategic partners in East Africa and on the continent more broadly. During our negotiations and exchanges, we extensively reflected on our bilateral relations. We have expressed satisfaction at the current state of our relations, which is coordinated through the Joint Commission for Cooperation at the level of our two foreign ministers. Our economic partnership is one of the most strategic pillars of our bilateral cooperation. Kenya remains South Africa's largest trading partner in East Africa, and it is also an important destination for South African investment on the continent. Leading South African companies have made significant investments in Kenya in sectors such as pharmaceutical services, retail and financial services, information and telecommunications, manufacturing, business services, and infrastructure development. South Africa's development finance institutions, such as the Development Bank of Southern Africa, alongside private financial institutions, are increasingly expanding their footprint in Kenya, particularly in renewable energy, infrastructure, and private sector development. We equally welcome the growing participation of Kenyan businesses in the South African market and the strengthening of commercial linkages between East and Southern Africa. But as South Africa, we want to see more Kenyan businesses investing in our market, and we want to see more Kenyan goods being on the shelves of our country, our shops in South Africa. And Ebola, clearly, as President Ruto has said, it's a pandemic. It's a pandemic that should concern all of us on the African continent. And as South Africa's role is the champion for the prevention of these pandemics, we have been quite deeply involved in the process of dealing with Ebola on our continent. But as South Africa itself, we've decided that we will be very proactive and be Pan-African and support the efforts that the African continent should make to deal with Ebola. We've made a contribution, as you might well have heard, of $5 million to the AU CDC to strengthen the CDC's effort to ensure that we have all the resources to be able to fight and to deal with Ebola. And for us to do so is to protect the peoples of Africa, but so also that when we protect South Africa and make sure that we do not in any shape or form ever have Ebola, we're protecting the whole continent as well. And so this contribution is meant to strengthen health systems in the DRC, in Uganda, as well as the AU CDC will be making that type of initiative because our health systems on the continent do need to be not only strengthened, but there needs to be readiness to deal with pandemics like this. And in this regard, we call on all other countries and institutions that are able to lend a hand to make a contribution to enable the AU CDC to be able to deal with this challenge quite effectively. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement provides a very unique opportunity for our two countries to further increase trade relations. In January 2024, I was pleased to witness the first shipment of exports from South Africa to Kenya under the African Continental Free Trade Area Preferential Agreement. President Ruto and I agreed that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area must serve as a catalyst for inclusive growth, industrialization, and job creation for our peoples. It should facilitate development of regional value chains and support African manufacturing and create greater opportunities, particularly for young people, for women, and for entrepreneurs across our continent. Our economic relations are coordinated through the South Africa-Kenya Joint Trade Committee, which met last month. The Joint Trade Committee reaffirmed the importance of promoting a more balanced and a mutually beneficial economic partnership through increased investment, industrial cooperation, skills transfer, technology exchange, and support the value addition and manufacturing in both economies. South Africa is keen to continue exploring opportunities for cooperation in infrastructure development in logistics, in transport, in energy and related sectors. And South Africa appreciates Kenya's key role as a gateway to East Africa and as one of the leading voices on matters of peace, security, and development on the continent. We reaffirmed our shared commitment to strengthening the African Union and its institutions and ensuring that Africa speaks with one voice in addressing continental and global challenges. And in this regard, we appreciated and thanked the important role that President Ruto is playing to strengthen the African Union through the various reforms that must be concluded to make the African Union stronger and to make it much more effective.
Signed is a memorandum of understanding on facilitation of trade through cooperation in the areas of standardization, technical regularization, conformity assessment, accreditation, and metrology. Thank you, Ministers. You may now shake hands and exchange your agreements. To sign a memorandum of understanding in shipping and maritime cooperation. Thank you, Ministers. We now take the handshake opportunity and exchange your agreements. Signed the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in the fields of technical and vocational education and training. Thank you and congratulations, Ministers. The handshake, thank you. Thank you, Ministers. To sign the Memorandum of Understanding in the field of arts, culture, and heritage. Ministers. Thank you and congratulations, Ministers. You may have the handshake and exchange of your agreements. And this is the agreement, Memorandum of Understanding in the field of sports and recreation. Ministers. give me exchange and the handshake.